So today I have my dear friend Karen as a guest. Welcome, Karen, to Latinx Chats.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for having me. This is a pleasure.
Awesome. Yeah. So today my dear friend Karen is going to share with us her path to what is called success to her and her story, and really share all the in and outs of like the pros and cons that she had throughout her journey. And so let's kind of dive into it if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready.
Awesome. Well, first off, do you mind sharing with us kind of like your full name, where you're born and raised, and where your parents are from?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Karen Marmolejo, formerly known as Karen Lima, as Jenny knew me. I was born in Mexico, Central Mexico, and my parents are from Central Mexico, both of them. But I was pretty much raised here in San Diego since the age of 10. That's when we migrated to the United States, and I've loved it here and I haven't looked back.
Nice. That's awesome. And in regards to your college experience, so what degree do you have currently, and what does that all look like?
Yeah, sure. So I actually studied general biology at UCSD, even though I started as a bioengineer major. Halfway through it, not really. At the beginning, I really much understood that engineering wasn't for me. So I dropped the engineering part and I stick with biology as a whole. And yeah, it was a decision that I don't regret. But it was a decision that I needed to take. And as of right now, I am also working on my master's from Cal State Dominguez Hills in quality assurance. So I'm a student all over again after many years of not being a student. So that transition has been a little difficult being a full-time at my work. And on top of that, I actually have two other certifications, one from UCSD Extension in project management for bioengineering, for biotechnology. And the other one is an auditing certification from a worldwide organization called ASQ. And it's mostly for the quality assurance group.
Awesome. You got a lot under your plate.
I have been busy.
Nice, nice, nice. Always educating yourself. That's awesome.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
Lifetime learner.
And as far as your current job, can you just briefly share where you work and your title, and then we'll dive into it a little bit later.
Yeah, sure. So I work at Illumina. So Illumina, what it does, it focuses on genetic testing. So if you know anything like 23andMe, Ancestry, and things like that, they pretty much are clients of ours that utilize our technology, next generation technology, from our instruments to our reagents, our chemicals, and kits. So we provide all of that for them. But this type of technology also helps code for things like the COVID sick. We had a great partnership with, let's say, Moderna and other research institutions. So yeah, it is very utilized for sure. I am a quality engineer supporting manufacturing processes. And yeah, we'll get to more of that fun later on.
Nice. So thank you for sharing that. And yeah, we'll dive into it a little bit later. So let's kind of circle back and talk about your story. Who's gotten and how is it for you growing up in California as a Latina? So can you kind of share on your experience and what that was like for you?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, obviously, I wasn't born here in the United States. My family immigrated here when I was 10 years old. Yes, I had some English knowledge in my past life, but coming here, obviously, it was a completely different experience. I had to pretty much relearn everything from uh, little verbs to words to how to maneuver through the educational system. Um, so growing up in a city like San Diego, I was very fortunate because here mostly everyone is able, or mostly everyone, yes, or you're able to find people that actually speak Spanish too. So you can go grocery shopping and still pay in Spanish, but with dollars, right? So it's a interesting dynamic in this
Mhm.
border city. But due to that, it was a nice, easy transition for my family and myself. The hardest part, I would say, was obviously the education system because one, my parents hadn't come to the United States early in their years, so they had no idea what the education system was like. And for me, it was always a saying from my family, like when you go to college, not if you go to college, right? So then that always stuck to me. I didn't know how to get there or what I needed to do in order to prepare, but I knew that that was my end goal, that that was kind of my destiny. Like I needed to fulfill that, not only for myself, but like for my family, right? So just understanding that there were like even different classes that you take in high school in order to go to college, or that you have that power to choose different classes, was something so foreign to my parents, to myself, and it was difficult to maneuver. But once we kind of understood and we were very close to counselors and teachers and people in the community, to be honest, we were able to ease that transition into the education system. But yeah, it has been great. Obviously, I love my city. It has a lot to offer. And I do love the fact that I can go to the grocery store and find like my Mexican tortillas and my nopales, you know. I love being able to like cook the food that I grew up with. So things like that make me really happy to be in such a border city.
Yeah, and I would say too, and I would add on myself too. I'm also a San Diegan, right? And I'm Mexican as well. And having the border option, right, to go to Tijuana whenever we wanted to tap into whether it was like the cuisine, right, or like the grocery outlets out there if we needed something in specific, right? So I felt like that avenue of having to, or like being able to tap into that and having it just kind of like miles, a little couple miles away from our home, is honestly such a blessing and such a
Yeah.
privilege in a way, no?
And even just being able to celebrate some of our cultural aspects too, with not only our food, but our traditions and some of our holidays. So it is definitely very special.
Yeah, that's such a good segue to this question. So what would you say, what would you say is that one thing that you're most proud of our Mexican and Latina, like, or like Latinx culture that you feel like, yeah, this is awesome.
Definitely something that I can't argue with. It's our resilience. Um, we are born to be resilient. We're taught to be resilient. And we just have this community sense that we need to help each other out all the time. That is something that is very valuable, very dear to my heart. I am not sure if all cultures have this, but I'm definitely very proud of that part of my culture. It's something that my parents always taught me, you know, like if you see some obstacle, don't focus on the obstacle, but focus on how to solve it. What resources can you maneuver in order to overcome them? Or what type of relationship, friendships, support do you need from other people in order to overcome this? So that has always been something that stuck to me. Yes, there's a lot of great things about our culture, but I think that aspiration to become something better has always been around for myself, and I definitely see that in other friends of mine, like yourself, that we're always striving for something better, not only for ourselves but for people around us, right? We try to bring everyone always up with us.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah, I also
Of
can
course.
relate in that sense that we really do try to work as a team, and not only it benefit us, you know, but also kind of those around us, like you mentioned. And I think that's definitely something that's so embedded in our culture and in our upbringing. So yeah, I definitely can relate in that sense that we're huge on that. We're huge on community. We're huge on family. We're huge on that connection and that team building and kind of that stuff. So I definitely, I agree 100%.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I would remember every time like parents, right? Since you're young, they go, help out your brother, help out your sister. Like that is how you are brought up, like helping each other out. So yeah, that's something beautiful that I'm definitely very proud of.
For sure. I can definitely agree on that. So, what would you say, or who or what is that motivator in your life on a daily basis that, or throughout your life, you know, that has been there, that has motivated you to become such an amazing person in all
Oh.
aspects of life? So, what is that? Who is that? And can you kind of share a little bit on that?
Yeah, I I ponder upon this question quite a bit, and I really can't pinpoint one person. I feel like throughout my life, I have come across incredible stories, incredible people um, that have touched me in one way or another to help me, right, in a selfish way to become a better person. Um, I've known people that are single moms that strive every day to give everything to their kids. I know great men that support their wives to grow in their careers. You know, it's never been one person that's been motivating me to keep going. I feel like it's a village always that's behind one successful person, and it doesn't take that much. You just look around in your community and you start really realizing that we are all fighters. Um, and it's just a beautiful thing to recognize, right? That we're all here trying to better ourselves, have a great future, not only for ourselves, but for generations to come. And it's just inspiring. Every single person that I have met has been inspiring for me. And it allows me to keep going in building myself, because in building myself, I'm able to bring others along with me.
That's so powerful. I love how you put it. It's definitely true. I think when you're doing well, you're able to also kind of offer that to others around you, right? So that's so awesome, and that's great, Karen. You keep doing
Oh, thank you.
it.
Thanks.
Yeah. So let's dive into kind of like your a little bit more on your education journey and what that looked like for you going to a really competitive school like UCSD, and being a Latina there, and kind of what was kind of that experience for you as an undergraduate attending a school like UCSD that's so rigorous, that's so intense, and that's sometimes super hard to get into. How was that for you when you were there?
Well, I'm not gonna say it was easy because it wasn't. uh, um, well, I was a good student in high school, and it was a lot of um, effort put in, but also a lot of support from family, friends, colleagues, you know, you name it. Teachers, definitely my teachers, counselors. And kind of like what we were mentioning a little bit earlier, I had a community that was really strong and together. And going from that small community feel where everybody knew me with everybody, I felt like they believed more in myself than I did for myself. You know, that allowed me to get to that place of getting accepted to UCSD and have that motivation to keep going. However, getting there and actually being a student was a whole nother beast on its own. I was no longer in a predominantly Latino community. there was a lot more diversity that I hadn't experienced before. Even being in San Diego, I was very sheltered in just being in a comfort zone with people that I knew, with things that I was used to pretty much. So that was a cultural change, just being brought into a different environment, with a lot more diversity, a lot more cultures, um, a lot of international students. La Jolla, it's in a very prestigious place here in San Diego, in La Jolla, and I didn't have a car. Little things like that, where it was just very different from what I had experienced in the past. So as a student, I was undocumented, and I didn't have the luxury of buying my own books, for example. So what I would do is I would rely on making friends that were in upper division classes, or in other higher grade levels, I guess you would say. And I would just ask them, right? Like, what classes have you taken? Do you have your books? May I borrow your books? May I borrow your notes? And things like that. So I started building my own little community of people that I could, one, trust for this type of very personal information, and two, trust that I was going to take care of the books. And like I mentioned, I didn't have a car, so I didn't live on campus at all throughout my college career. I would take the bus every day, so it was a pilgrimage. Every day was a pilgrimage, and trying to schedule my classes out with people that were living around me so that we could carpool together. It took a lot of effort, more than the regular quote unquote student. I didn't have a lot of resources, and I just had to find a way, like I always did, right? Like this upbringing came up and fits your problems. Like, how are you going to solve them? And I just had to mobilize myself and find these resources, find different venues to accommodate and still study, because that was ultimately my one and only job. Yeah, so I know that was a lot.
Yeah. And would you say, yeah, go ahead.
No, ask my way.
Yeah. And so would you say, I mean, as an undocumented student, back when you were going through undergrad, which wasn't a long time ago, but during those years, I mean, I felt like it was this like very taboo-ish type of concept, right? Not a lot of people, even in higher ed, were aware of how to even help you as a student, right?
Right.
Whether it was
Yeah.
faculty or staff.
Yeah, no, you name it. I'll share a little story of what happened to me. So I was able, like I said, I was a really good student in high school, and I was able to get scholarships to cover for like my first 2 almost full years of college. And that's how I was able to finance my career starting up. But after that, I mean, school is expensive, really expensive. And at the time that I went to school, there wasn't a DACA program. I graduated a year before DACA was implemented. And I mean, I couldn't wait, right? Unfortunately. And I didn't know it was coming either. But at that time, and even now, it's very difficult for undocumented students to really open up, and for institutions to know what to do with this type of situations, right? Like, there wasn't a scenario for them to guide me through on how to ask for funds. They would just point me to scholarships. And I mean, yes, I could get some scholarships, but it wasn't to the degree of paying an entire year in school. So at that time, I was without funds, financial funds. I couldn't pay anymore. I probably had enough money to do maybe part-time at the time. And I went to the counselor's office. First, I went to the financial aid office, and I told them, you know what, like, is there anything I can do? They just point me to scholarships. I was like, okay. I was able to get in-state tuition, a waiver for that, and that's as much as they could do for me. And that was throughout my entire time in UCSD as an undocumented student. Then I went to my counselor for my classes and I said, is there anything I can do? Can I go part-time? There was such a form to fill out, but my personal reason wasn't part of the description, or it wasn't part of this criteria or acceptable criteria, right? And they just said, well, you're in good standing. We're not kicking you out. You're not able to pay. So just don't enroll in classes and come back when you are ready to come back. Wow. And I was left speechless, like, obviously I wanted to finish my degree. I wanted to do it through the institution that had accepted me to begin with, but there was no resource, there was no structure around this situation that I was in, and there was nothing that they could really do. So I left that office and the previous office pretty bummed out. And through my connections with my peers at that time was that I came to the conclusion that I could go to community college to finish my Gs. So they helped me navigate through different websites to actually compare the classes that will be given at UCSD compared to the ones at community college, and figure out which ones were transferable. It was more through peers that I learned what my venues were than through the institution. And it's just the nature of the beast. Maybe someone wasn't prepared enough or just threw them up for a loop. I don't know. But I was able to figure out my own path. Again, I was like, I need to fix this. I need to figure it out. I need to finish this degree. I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I need to do it. So I took a year off. I finished all my Gs in community college. Then I was able to fix my status here in the United States to permanent resident. And then I came back for my last year in college, and it was a complete different story because now I got everything paid for. I was able to buy my books. They were able to, give me even money for like my gas, and I was able to get a car, and it was just night and day, and it was just that difference of that Social Security, which it's huge. I mean,
yeah.
And at the same time, it was like nothing internally had really changed. I had the same drive, I had the same aspirations, but the means of getting to it were just completely different. And yeah, that was my experience.
Wow. Honestly, I applaud you because there are a lot of even now there are a lot of students that have gone to similar situations like yourself. And sometimes it gets to the point where students feel like, well, if the institution that I'm giving my time, my effort, my everything, they're not able to kind of do that in return, then a lot of the times they choose to kind of just throw in the towel, and decide like, this is maybe not going to work out. And or some others do have the fortune that they're able to find advisors or mentors that can help them throughout the process, and whether it's with loans or a lot of scholarships or whatever it is to make it work, right? But it's really, really hard. And actually at the moment, me being a higher ed professional, I'm really pushing for that, to really see which institutions are providing those resources to these students and which ones are not, and what is it that they're sharing in their websites. If I were to be undocumented right now and I go to a institution's website, like, how am I going to go about navigating it so I know, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. These are my requirements. These are all my checklist items, right? Like, is it inviting to me as an undocumented or DACA student, you know? So those are some things that sometimes certain institutions kind of need to dive into to know what are they doing on their end, you know, and are they actually providing a space for these students, right? You're muted.
There we go. So what I was trying to say is that it is very discouraging to try to fight for yourself and not having those venues to do it. And I think it's also demoralizing, right? Where you're trying to ask for questions to get to your goal and you're faced with a wall. And unfortunately, it's the lack of preparation um, from many people, right? Like we're not prepared for this type of situations. But definitely, I echo your entire message. You know, sometimes that discouragement blocks us from asking the right questions too, and or being afraid of asking them because we feel like we're not deserving of time or effort of other people. Where in the contrary, we have to remember once we get to those institutions, we are paying the salaries of these individuals. They're here to help us. Whether they're ready to do it or they have the resources, that's a different story. But we are part of the system at that point, and we need to demand that respect and that support, in honesty. I know that was my issue. I had no idea what the right questions were or how to address my situation at that point. And it's just something that comes with years, right, of being in the shadows. And it's something that I'm still working towards even in my career. Like, how do I ask in my in, in my job for advice from other people, or how do I get to the next level? Like, what type of people do I need to surround myself in order to get there? And it's just a matter of practice, but it's really all in our head. Like, these stories are in our head.
Yeah, no, seriously, I can definitely relate, and I could see that struggle, right, of trying
Mm-hmm.
to go through those avenues and finding ways to be heard and how to go about it, right? And so in regards to you choosing your major in biology, like why was it kind of the sciences? Like what was that factor that pushed you to go for the sciences?
Yeah, I actually had, like I said, really good supporting system in high school. During my 10th year, 11th year, 10th grade. Yeah, my sophomore year.
Yeah.
I had an AP bio teacher, and she was amazing. She was a little too passionate about science to the point that it was vibrating through her entire being, and it was just contagious. And I thought to myself, like, I want to be that mad scientist just like her. And she encouraged me so much. She had this vision for me that I couldn't see at the time. She encouraged me to apply to summer program hosted at UCSD called Cosmos, that is for high school students that are interested in the science. It was an actual program that you had to pay out of pocket, but I was able to get a scholarship for it through UCSD.
Nice.
Again, everything I've done has been scholarships, scholarships, scholarships. If people out there hearing me right now, if you're in this situation, apply to the maths to scholarships. Definitely.
Seriously.
If one thing you hear from me, just apply to scholarships. Um, Anyways, back to my story. So I went to this summer program, and I was head on with kids that had their parents being PhD um, professors, you know, wealthy backgrounds and things like that. And here I was from Chula Vista all by myself, and I had never been away from home or sleep away from home, you know. Um, So it was very interesting, but it was also very rewarding in the sense that I was able to work in labs from the university and have classes being taught by professors from the university. Obviously, not at the same rigor as it would be for a college student, but they were definitely catered to students that were very interested in the science. We had to do like an entire poster and present it and work on research with the different instrumentation that we had. So it was really hands-on, very powerful, life-changing for me. I knew that's what I wanted to do. And through this program, I also had one of the professors from that program, or yeah, he was a professor. He is actually a Latino professor that comes from Tijuana, who is an associate fellow here in UCSD. And he just kind of took me under his arm. And at the end of the program, they gave me another scholarship so that I could go to college. And yeah, it was just amazing to know that there were people helping me and encouraging me and supporting other Latinos, you know? So yeah, that professor, I kept in touch with him throughout the years. He even came to my wedding. So we
Aw.
just been, yeah, he has been an amazing support mentor, and I would do check-ins with him during my college years. He encouraged me to the bioengineering sector, and then I had to come tell him I don't want engineering. I'm just gonna go with the biology. And he was like, that's fine. You're still in the science. It's okay. You can do it. So I was like, okay, I have his approval. I can do this. So yeah, but it was just like a little tumbling of events that just kind of aligned all together and showed me my direction because I had no idea where I was going, to be honest.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like sometimes when it is those peers and those mentors that kind of guide you through the process that possibly look like you, that make it kind of easy in a sense to know like maybe this is your path, and for them to kind of handhold you through the process is
Mm-hmm.
amazing, right? To have that,
Mm-hmm.
especially in a setting like the academic system that we have, and the
Yeah.
education here, that's just it's some type of system that not even like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
us that go through it, sometimes even
Mm-hmm.
understand how to even navigate it. So
No, completely agree with that. I feel like there's an ever-changing process to how to get to college, how to be in college. Every college and university has its own system, so it's not a one straight path to success, and that's kind of where I'm trying to focus here. Like, there's so many things in life, and in your career and in your success. It's up to each person to really find um, that venue to really be successful and define what's successful to you too, because not having a house is something that you aim for, right? Maybe you're spiritually guided, and how do you find your success in that? So it's just
right.
everyone's path is different, and I just hope to be able to contribute to someone that's listening with a little bit of
Yeah,
inspiration.
I know you will. So, Karen, let's dive into kind of a little bit more on your career path and what that looked like for
Sure.
you. I know, I mean, you've been pretty successful within the whole sciences
Thank
world,
you.
um, and so can you kind of walk us through like what exactly is it that you a little bit more of what you do currently now with Illumina,
Mhm.
and and then we'll kind of dive into as well like why or what is it that interests you within like the quality assurance like
Mm.
industry, and kind of dive into a little bit of that.
Sure. So I definitely had a normal path in college, and because of that, I also didn't have the opportunities of doing internships or working in labs during my college years. And it's something that, for example, some pre-med students know that they need to find a lab were to volunteer at least,
Yeah.
to have those hands-on experiences. And to me, that was just foreign. I had no idea what I needed to do. One, to get to college, then what to do to get to a career, right? And
Right.
it was just like, okay, let's see what happens.
Uh-huh.
So what I ended up doing is I started working at small labs, working minimum wage, sometimes part-time, sometimes full-time, and just trying to get that experience under my resume and understand what the the career was like, right, in my field. And throughout those little instances, I came across big names and big companies, um, like Illumina, Johnson and Johnson, Thermo Fisher, BD. There's a great biotechnology and pharmaceutical field here in San Diego. It's huge. So I came across all these great companies, but then I would look at their careers and some of the applications that they will have up, and or job posting, sorry, and I would see the requirements, and I will be like, how
There's no
can I
way.
tell you? Yeah, like this is impossible. Like you want someone with masters and 10 years of experience. I'm right out of college. Like there's no way I'm gonna get into the bottom of your careers.
For the entry levels, yeah.
For the entry levels, yeah, it was ridiculous, and it
Mhm.
still is, to be honest. There's never a good market
Right.
right now. Um, so if you don't have a job, don't worry, it will come. But I just had to go with whatever I could, pretty much. I took whatever was there. And from those small companies, I started bringing myself up in experience and proving myself in the field, in the companies that I was. So then from there, after a few years that I was like, okay, I'm kind of ready to make the big jump to a big company, um, I went in and I applied to Illumina. Um, funny, funny story I will say about this one. I was actually, now that I remember, I'm refreshing everything right now. I went to a college fair with my younger sibling for, I believe it was MIT or some big league on university.
Hmm.
And the speaker that they had was an Illumina worker.
Mm.
And she started saying all the things that she would do in her job. And I just looked at my husband and I was like, I do so much more than she does. If she's at Illumina, I'm sure I could be at Illumina. And that motivated me. And I was like, the next day, kid you not, Saturday morning, 6 a.m., I'm sitting in my laptop, filling out an application. Mind you, it is an entry level position for Illumina at a lab after me being years and years of experience in other companies, right? And I submitted my application and I let it be. I'm like, let's see what happens. I put in what I could. They call me back and I get the job after rounds and rounds of interviews. It seemed like I was going through like a whole college process
Process.
all over again, where I
Yeah.
had to even like record myself giving some like interview questions, and then they had on-site um, pipetting tests for me. Like it was intense. It was a whole process. I passed, I got the job, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I made it. It's my dream company. Um, and yeah, it was surreal. It really was surreal. But even then, I took a pay cut in order to enter Illumina at an entry level position going in. I was like, you know what? It's going in my resume and nobody needs to know how much I'm going to be making. Like, this is for me to keep. And that's all I need, right? I need the name in my resume.
Hmm.
After almost 2 years, after being so much in different labs and in the lab setting, I started developing carpal tunnel. And I did some therapies and, you know, I knew that it wasn't sustainable for me anymore.
Mm.
And I started looking and seeing, okay, where can I move? I definitely still love the sciences. I still want to support our mission statement. And yeah, science is my passion. I still want to support bettering human health through the power of genetics, but how can I do it behind the scenes? And this is where I came across quality assurance. I always saw them as the police, but I also came in with this intention of let's change that vision of what quality really is, or the quality assurance team, auditing in particular. And I went in again. I had a woman, Latino, that was rooting for me, that pretty much handpicked me for her team. And that connection was just like amazing. You know, she said, I know she has it in her. I know she doesn't come from like a quality background, but her experience in the lab is very needed for our team. And she pulled me in to the quality assurance team. And she has been nothing but amazing in bringing me up, in being a mentor, in supporting me in my growth. And you know, it's just been one crazy ride to say the least.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so empowering that there is hope that there are Latinos and Latinas in those
Mhm.
higher up positions that are kind of bringing other folks up there, you know,
Yeah.
whether it's Latinos or just minorities in general. I feel like that's huge, right?
Mhm.
Um, to kind of promote that practice, you know, and to look out for other folks, because we all kind of deserve a spot, right? And that
Yeah.
representation in those spots and in those
Mhm.
positions.
Mhm. Definitely. And I think one of the things that we also need to remember to tell your listeners here is that it is also up to us, right? To prepare ourselves for when those opportunities come about, that we have the tools, we have the degrees, we have the knowledge to back up our drive to succeed. Because it's not only like, oh, they know me and I need to just wink at them and they'll get me a job, but it's also have the preparation and really look into what is it that your field needs and what certifications or education are they looking for in order for you to be able to get to those to have those opportunities really open up to you.
I could agree 100%. I also would add that also when it comes to kind of shopping around and seeing what opportunities
Mm.
are out there, it's always also okay to apply to sometimes certain positions that you're like,
Okay.
man, this is awesome, but I may not qualify for it, because you
Mm.
just never know. They could always give you a shot and give you
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. I've been a witness of that, and so honestly, like, don't ever
Yeah.
stop yourself from going for something, because you just never know what that can come out with,
Oh,
right?
girl, you're speaking my life story right now. I would start applying to like senior staff, like 3, 4 levels above me, and say, let's see what happens. I would get interviewed, and then I'm like, I know I don't have maybe the knowledge that you need right now, but you're gonna remember me because of what I say, because of how I carry myself, and you're gonna come looking for me at some point when you think I'm ready for this. Just putting your name out there is scary, but
Right.
it could be really rewarding too, for sure.
Mhm. I can definitely agree too. And I have done this myself too. Like, if I feel like, hey, I just want to kind of make a connection or put myself out there, I'll reach out to whichever folks
Mhm,
are like the recruiters or the ones that are in the higher
mhm,
positions, and be like, hey, I'm such and such, and I'm really interested in this position. And like, I would love and be honored to be part of
mhm,
your team, or, you know, and I think that's not, it's a good rule of thumb to consider
mhm,
when you're kind of shopping around, and just be open to kind of those opportunities and not close yourself
mhm.
off, right?
No, for sure. I think it's something that maybe it's not as talked about in our culture or our ethnic backgrounds.
Yeah.
We know that we're hard workers and we want people to acknowledge us kind of out of the bloom for that. But we're not very good at branding ourselves and putting ourselves out there, where other people in other ethnic groups, I think they're so good at just really leveraging their connections, right? Or being upfront with other people and being very clear on their demands and their desires, where I know that for us it's like, oh no, 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 don't ask for more, like you already have enough, or you should settle for what you have, when in reality, no, there's always a higher place to go, and there's gonna be someone up there that's gonna be able to help me out.
Yeah, I can definitely agree on that end. Like advocating for yourself sometimes may be hard,
Mhm.
but you just never know. It can definitely work. And sometimes don't second doubt your abilities and your skills because a lot of the times you are possibly doing a lot, and you can be definitely rewarded for that. So,
Mhm.
so really, go out there and really kind of advocate for
Yeah,
all that you're doing because at the end of the day, like we are hard workers y si le echamos
of
ganas,
course.
so
Oh yeah,
we
for
gotta get
sure.
rewarded.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. So, Karen, now we're
Mhm.
gonna kind of dive into a little game here
Yeah,
to just get to know
love
you
it.
at a deeper level in a fun way. So we're gonna play this or that. Sounds good?
Mm. Hit it, girl.
All right. So here we go. So, what would Karen prefer? Would you prefer tea or coffee?
Definitely tea. I do not drink coffee. I don't plan on drinking coffee, so tea is my one and only savior.
Gotcha. Okay, nice. What about do you prefer dance or yoga?
You know, I'm a dancer. We were both in ballet folklorico, but right
Yep.
now I'm very into yoga, and the reason for this is I feel like our society helps us learn how to rev up and how to be multitaskers all the time, but we don't know how to concentrate on ourselves and really listen to our bodies. So for that reason only, I will choose yoga. Otherwise, I will be dancing my life away.
I mean, we could have both, right?
I mean, balance.
Nice. Okay. And what would you prefer? Would you prefer summer or fall?
Oof, I love summer, but I think San Diego spoils our summertime here. So I will say fall so that I can have a change of scenery and a change of wardrobe.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Fall
Nice.
fashion is the best. Let's say it.
The boots and the beanies and the scarves and all
The
that.
scarves, everything.
Nice. Awesome. And so what would you prefer? Would you prefer sea or mountains?
mm, I'm gonna have to say mountains just for the change of scenery.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. Nice.
I love it though.
Gotcha. Okay. And so what would you prefer? An apple or an orange?
An orange.
An
They
orange.
go great with tequila.
Como
Just
una
try it.
mexicana
Oh
llena
yeah, a
que
little bit
somos.
of synonym, you're done.
True Mexican, true Mexican.
You gotta
Um,
have it.
and what would you prefer, white or black?
Black.
Okay.
Black goes with everything. And if you're me, after a Mexican meal, you're wearing your leftovers. So white is not good for me.
Very true. And this is the last one. What would you prefer? Tacos or
Okay.
tamales?
Tacos. They are so much faster to get through. Tamales, it just takes so much time. If I
Mhm.
can buy them, maybe, but making them on a daily basis, tacos.
Yeah. And what kind of tacos?
Girl, anything goes.
You go for whatever.
Who cares what they are? Yes, I'll take them all.
Nice, 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 nice.
No picky
Awesome. What's that?
eaters right here. No picky eaters right here.
Nice. That's good. That's good. Awesome. Well, Karen, we're pretty much to the end of our live.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes, I really appreciate you sharing your story, the in and
Mm,
outs, the true hardships, you know, but also the
yeah.
rewards to all your hard work,
Mhm.
um, and all that this path has been for you. Although it's been challenging at times, it's also been very rewarding. And yeah, you're essentially pretty successful, I would say.
Oh, thank you. Thank
um,
you.
so yeah, so your path has been very on a good path, I would say, like on a good
Mm,
direction. And I really do hope folks really find your story inspiring, because I
mm,
always do.
thank you.
I really just hope that your story really just pushes those people that possibly are going through similar situations like yourself when you were
Mm,
in college or throughout your career, that if people resonate with that, you know, that
mm,
they're able to know that there is a way out of that, there is going to be um the fruits to that, you know. And so
mhm,
just kind of take it slow and make good calls and don't
mm,
give up, you know. So
yes.
what would be that kind of advice that you would give to our Latinos and Latinas, um, who which actually kind of worked for you in your whole process,
Mm,
whether it was
oof.
through college, through your career? What would be that kind of piece of advice?
I think definitely prepare yourself for the opportunities in the future and surround yourself with a healthy community that is going to empower you and support you instead of pull you down.
Yes, yes, amen. Ay,
Yes, good
amiga.
relationships.
Yes, yes, that is super like facts of facts.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you so much, Karen, again for your time, for
Mm,
sharing your story with
of
us,
course.
for just being so transparent and so just real. And if people were to want to reach out to you for guidance, for mentoring, for support, for just really just having an ear to have, and how can people kind of go about that if they want to reach out to you?
Of course, I love paying it forward. So thank you for having me. First of all, I think you have a great project here in your hands, and I think I would have appreciated having something like this back when I needed it, and I still do. So I'm still watching. But if people wanted to reach out to me, email is my best way of contact. I'm tied to my laptop, to my device, anything. So my email is kamarmole@gmail.com. So thank you for having me.
Sorry, it was not letting me unmute myself.
No worries.
No,
I'm just
thank
like, I'll
you
keep
again.
talking.
Thank you again, Karen. You're amazing.
Thank you,
And thank you
Jenny.
for again sharing your story. I know it's very inspirational, and I know it will be for many people.
Mm,
And
hopefully.
thank you again for the support just throughout.
Mhm.
And let's keep celebrating our culture. Let's keep celebrating all
Yeah.
our wins and our hardships as well, because they make us
Mhm.
kind of who we are today. So let's help all each other out, and let's todos como familia, ¿no?
Of course, your family, Jenny.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Of
Best
course.
of luck, and we'll keep in touch.
Yes. Pues gracias. Thank you, everyone. Gracias, Karen. You're awesome. And on to the next.